When Clarence Dutton laid eyes on the Grand Canyon back in 1880, he couldn't help but be totally captivated by those vibrant canyon walls. You see, those walls were like a history book, each layer of rock telling its own story about what Earth was up to way back then. And there, he found a giant hole in Earth's history. Now, if you take a good look at the lower layers of the rock, especially deep down in the canyon, you might notice something interesting. They seem to be slanted, like they've been tipped over. Well, Dutton figured out that these layers were once flat, laid down by rivers or in shallow seas ages ago, but over time, geological forces nudged some of them upwards, giving them that tilted look. As the years passed, erosion did its thing, slicing off the tops of those tilted layers. Meanwhile, new layers of sediment settled on top, keeping things nice and level. Dutton realized that all this couldn't have happened overnight. It took a serious amount of time for those horizontal layers to end up on top of the slanted ones. In his explorations of the Grand Canyon, Dutton stumbled upon something called an unconformity, which is basically a gap in the Earth's history. It's like finding a missing puzzle piece that tells us sedimentation wasn't a continuous process. Sometimes there were millions of years between sets of rock layers, showing just how much time has passed since they were formed. Back in 1882, Clarence Dutton gave a catchy name to something he stumbled upon in the Grand Canyon, the Great Unconformity. But at that time, folks didn't quite grasp just how mind-blowingly significant it was. Fast forward to today, and thanks to fancy techniques like radiometric dating, we've pinned down some dates. Turns out, the rocks sitting right above this Great Unconformity were laid down during the Cambrian period, a whopping 500 million years back. But get this, some of the rocks beneath it, they are a staggering 1.2 billion years older. Wrap your head around that for a second. Essentially, at this spot in the Grand Canyon, about a quarter of the Earth's entire story is missing. Those layers are nowhere to be found. But here's the kicker. This isn't a Grand Canyon exclusive phenomenon. Nope. You can spot this gap in Earth's history from Siberia to Antarctica and everywhere in between. Scientists are still playing detective to find out what triggered this Great Unconformity, but they've got some hunches. Some reckon it might have something to do with a supercontinent cracking apart, massive glaciers going rogue, or even the explosion of life on our planet. Now, let's talk sedimentary rocks. They are like the building blocks of this geological drama, formed through a process called deposition. Picture bits of rock like sand getting carried and dumped by wind, water, or ice, slowly stacking up over time. And when you've got a layer of rock that stands out from the rest, sandwiched between distinct layers above and below, that's what we call a stratum. Imagine stacking up layers upon layers of rock, each one representing a different chapter of Earth's history. Put them all together and you've got yourself a rock sequence, a sort of geological timeline etched into the ground. Now, when you come across a boundary between two of these layers with a noticeable age gap, that's what we call an unconformity. It's like a pause button in the rock sequence, where either no new material was deposited for a while, or erosion wiped out an entire layer. Take the Grand Canyon, for example. Its iconic walls are chock full of these unconformities. Picture this. Between two layers of limestone, there's a whopping 150 million year gap. But that's just a warm-up compared to the big kahuna, the Great Unconformity. This bad boy starts under a layer of tepid sandstone laid down by ancient seas about 508 to 501 million years back. Below that, you hit pay dirt, a stretch of metamorphic rock called the Vishnu schist, hanging out at a cool 1.75 billion years old. And let's not forget the tilted layers of the Grand Canyon supergroup, ranging from 1.25 billion to 740 million years old. Now, cracking the mystery of what went down during that gap is the key to understanding the Great Unconformity. Zoom out a bit and you'll find we're currently cruising through the Phanerozoic Eon, which kicked off around 541 million years ago. But before that, there was the Proterozoic, a marathon of an eon that started a staggering 2.5 billion years ago. Picture this, the Proterozoic era, and that's when Earth saw the rise and fall of three mega supercontinents, with the last one, Rodinia, taking center stage. Rodinia was the ultimate gathering of continents, formed somewhere between 1.3 billion years and 900 million years ago. But like all good things, it didn't last forever. Around 750 million years ago, Rodinia started to split apart, setting the stage for some serious geological drama. And this breakup might just be linked to another major event, one that would have given even the coolest events a run for their money. Since the 1930s, scientists have been uncovering clues suggesting something mind-boggling: glaciers chilling out at the equator during the late Proterozoic era. Picture this, places like Western North America and Southern Australia, which today boast tropical or subtropical vibes, were once frosty hotspots. Now, if you peek into the remnants of this icy era, you'll stumble upon a mishmash of sand, mud, gravel, and massive boulders. Geologists call these leftovers tillites, the debris left behind by glaciers. What's wild is that in places that soaked up the equatorial sun back then, you'll find these tillites sandwiched between layers of limestone, which typically form in warm tropical waters. It's like finding snow in the Sahara. These findings, coupled with other evidence, like paleomagnetic data, sparked what's known as the Snowball Earth Hypothesis. It's a wild idea that suggests glaciers once coated pretty much the entire globe, from the icy poles to the steamy equator. And get this, it might not have happened just once. Nope, there could have been multiple Snowball Earth episodes, with the first one kicking off around 716 million years ago, and the last one wrapping up a cool 635 million years back. These icy spells might just be linked to the Great Unconformity, but there's a bit of chicken and egg situation going on. Some folks think the formation of the Great Unconformity set the stage for Snowball on Earth, while others reckon Snowball Earth might be the architect behind the Great Unconformity. A study from 2018 even threw its hat into the ring, suggesting that the Great Unconformity might have jump-started the icy part of Snowball Earth. It's like trying to unravel the ultimate geological mystery, and we're all on the edge of our seats waiting for the next clue. Well, let's take a closer look at the Ozark Plateau in North America, where we've got this fascinating geological setup. Cambrian sandstone, around 500 million years old, casually chilling on top of granite that's been around for a whopping 1.4 billion years. Sounds familiar? Yup, it's just like in the Grand Canyon, we've got ourselves a front row seat to the Great Unconformity. Now, to crack the code of the Great Unconformity, scientists rolled up their sleeves and got their hands on some uranium isotopes and helium trapped in zircon crystals. Using these nifty crystals, they pieced together a story. About 850 to 680 million years ago, this area experienced some serious tectonic uplift and erosion. And wouldn't you know it, this lines up perfectly with the breakup of Rodinia. Now, when supercontinents start to split, they often cause some serious shifting and lifting of the Earth's crust, a phenomenon we call tectonic uplift. In this case, the researchers reckon several kilometers of rock being pushed skyward, only to be worn down by erosion over time. But here's where it gets juicy. Since the Ozarks were basically smack dab in the middle of the continent back then, scientists suspect there might have been a massive bout of erosion stretching far and wide. And if this was a global shindig, it could explain why we're seeing gaps in the geological record, aka the Great Unconformity. These researchers think all that erosion didn't just reshape the landscape, it also had a serious impact on the climate. How so? Well, when rainwater trickles over rock, it snags carbon from the atmosphere during the weathering process. This carbon ends up getting locked away in rock formations, keeping it out of the atmosphere where it would otherwise contribute to the greenhouse effect. So, with less carbon floating around in the air, the planet might have started to cool down. Throw in some volcanic activity and a slightly dimmer sun, and boom! Welcome to Snowball Earth. So, according to this theory, Rodinia's breakup sparked a major erosion fest, and not only did this carve out the Great Unconformity, but it also played a starring role in cooling down the planet, paving the way for Snowball Earth. Well, that's it for today. For now, make sure that you like our video, and please share your views in the comment section with us. Subscribe to the channel to get updated, and don't forget to hit the bell icon to never miss an update. Thanks for watching, and see you at the next one.